evening, everybody. Welcome, a special welcome this evening to Ayya Sobhana Theri, coming to us from Empty Cloud Monastery in New Jersey, where she is the abbot. And she was many years with us at Dhamma and very glad that she's continuing to join us from time to time to offer her teachings from New Jersey now. And I think you'll be continuing your teachings on topic of mindfulness that I enjoyed your teaching on this a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and
Yes.
Happy to learn more from you this evening. So welcome, Ayya.
Okay, thank you. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Dear friends, welcome to this Tuesday Dhamma program with the Dhamma. I'm continuing to explore various aspects of mindfulness and the Satipatthana, which will be my theme for the next couple of months. Here at the Empty Cloud Monastery, we're preparing to enter into our winter retreat the day after tomorrow, and I am aiming to have plenty of meditation time during this 2-month period. The corner of the Satipatthana Sutta that I'm interested in today is the part about Sati-Sampajañña. Sampajañña is within the first section of the Satipatthana Sutta, within the contemplation of the body. And I'll read you in Bhante Sujato's translation the sentence that I'm interested in. It says, further, a mendicant acts with situational awareness when going out and coming back, when looking ahead and aside, when bending and extending the limbs, when bearing the outer robe, bowl, and robes, when eating, drinking, chewing, and tasting, when urinating and defecating, when walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking, and keeping silent. And so they meditate observing an aspect of the body internally, and they meditate observing an aspect of the body externally, both internally and externally. They observe the aspect of the body with the nature of arising, with the nature of ceasing, and with the nature of both arising and ceasing. So within the sutta, this section is obviously not referring just to the cushion practice, but referring to everyday activities. These daily life is referring to the regular daily life of a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, where our job is to go out for the alms round. And but a person who's got some other kind of work that they have to do, the same thing would apply to whatever your work is, whether you're a carpenter or an office worker or any kind of job. This kind of process could apply. There's a description of the meaning of Sati-Sampajañña that I learned years ago based on the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification of Buddhaghosa. And I've more recently come to feel that the sutta is giving a bit of a different perspective on this aspect. And in particular, this practice is not only about the physical body or the behavior of the physical body, taking care to be careful to be good or something, but instead this instruction is really about the mind as well. The most wonderful evidence that I find for this is in the Sati-Sampajañña Samyutta. That's chapter 47 in the Samyutta Nikaya, Sutta number 35. So it's 47.35 in the Samyutta Nikaya. The name of this is mindful. And it says, a mendicant should live mindful and aware. So the mindful is the sato, or sati, and aware is sampajañña. This is my instruction to you. And how is a mendicant mindful? It's when a mendicant meditates by observing the body and the body, keen, aware, mindful, rid of covetousness and displeasure for the world. They meditate observing feelings and feelings, mind and mind, and the dhammas and dhammas. Keen, aware, mindful, rid of covetousness and pleasure for the world. So the sati is defined in terms of the four foundations. And then sampajañña is defined in this way. How is a mendicant aware? It's when a mendicant knows feelings as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. They know thoughts as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. They know perceptions as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. That's how a mendicant is aware. This very short instruction really delighted me so much because I have noticed many times that the practice of mindfulness, when one gets up from the cushion and goes into the activities of daily life, is really different because feelings, thoughts, and perceptions are so much more active. It could be even if one is doing the cushion practice, if you've gained a certain amount of concentration, you may have withdrawn from the senses so that, for example, if you're practicing mindfulness of the breath, that the only thing that's really strongly in your awareness is the breath. And other kinds of miscellaneous thoughts or miscellaneous perceptions or miscellaneous sensations are not even coming into awareness because one has came to be fully engaged in mindfulness of the breath or whatever other theme of mindfulness that a person is focused on. It can be that what is the phenomenon that we have to work with in the mind is very simplified. And that simplified awareness does create a different kind of an opportunity to investigate what's going on with the Vedana that accompanies that simple phenomenon arising to the mind. and to be aware of the state of the citta, where you're at in the practice, whether the state of mind is free from greed and aversion, or whether the state of mind is expanded or contracted, and so forth. So that this kind of contemplation is uniquely possible in the cushion practice. But when we get up and go about our activities of daily life, we will be continuously engaged and involved with a tremendous diversity of different kinds of sense phenomenon coming up, including both many different kinds of thoughts, as we got to practice with our activities of daily life and things that we're planning. I have got a very simplified job now. I'm showing you this library. Okay, this is the library at the Empty Cloud Monastery. And those 4 shelves on the side are the books that still need to be classified. This temple was way behind in sorting their library, and the volunteers who did it were not very consistent. So when I look at a book and I have to decide how to classify it, then I have to think to what if there's a teacher who's associated with Goenka, to what branch of Theravada is Goenka the most strongly affiliated? So I've got to think, and then I have to look up how people classified them before, and somebody had gone in the past and classified many of the books with the same 4 topics. The tags that they put on all the books in the library were Buddhism, peace, joy, and life, or something like this. And this is why, and all day long we encounter so many different kinds of people, and the people talk to us. They have different kind of things to say. People have their own emotions, and I need to be aware of that, and so on. And so there's millions of opportunities while going through the activities of the day to be aware of the feeling that arises inside, how this comes together. Both the bare feeling from mere simple contact with the sense. So if there's a screeching loud noise, that could be an unpleasant feeling, if very simple. But then when the mind integrates different kinds of senses together, so you've got a combination of a taste and a smell and a thought that gives you some kind of an idea about the food, and then there's a feeling that connects to that. So all these complex feelings that arise. So, what's the instruction here? The instruction is about impermanence, to see as they arise, as they remain, as they go away. Likewise, thoughts and perceptions. Now, where else in the sutta do we see this particular phrase about feelings, thoughts, and perceptions? Well, it could remind you about the Madhupindaka Sutta, which talks about the unskillful way a person can react when they're out about in the world. And it mentions that there are these 6 sense bases. There's the internal and the external basis. There's a contact resulting from that. There's a Vedana resulting from that. There's a Sanya, a perception arising from that. There's a thought arising from that. And then there's a papancha, or proliferation, arising from that. So especially if the perception is not skillful, then the thought will be unskillful, and then it will take you into unskillful proliferation, subsequently resulting in conflict and blows and murder and so forth. So here, with this practice of mindfulness, we're not aiming for unskillful, we're aiming for the skillful thoughts and the skillful perceptions. Feelings are not either skillful or unskillful. Feelings are simply pleasant, painful, and neutral. But as a result of feeling, if a person is unmindful, or if they have unskillful perceptions and they perceive things in a way, they could be biased, so that if something has an unpleasant Vedana, they could have a perception affected by aversion or hatred, and unskillful thoughts based on aversion, and unskillful perceptions. And likewise, for pleasant thoughts, you can have the perceptions and thoughts affected by greed and so forth like that. So here, in this sutta, apparently one is able to mindfully know the feelings as they arise. So if you mindfully know them, you will be able to see them as just a feeling. And if you see the feeling as impermanent, if you learn to see the feeling as impermanent, then you will be less likely to slip into unskillful thoughts or unskillful perceptions. But if you go through the day and you have a combination or a mixture, some of your thoughts and perceptions are skillful, and some of your thoughts and perceptions are unskillful. That's probably what usually happens to us, isn't it? So then the mindfulness is to recognize the skillful as skillful and the unskillful as unskillful. There's a strong description of that in the King Melinda's questions. One of the answers that is given in that book is specifically describing mindfulness as being able to distinguish what's the dark and bright, the skillful and the unskillful states. If we go through this exercise, as I've been doing for the past 4 days, I've been making a concerted effort since I came across the sutta to attempt to continuously be aware of the ever-changing, continuously rising and passing away quality, to see the context, the feelings, the thoughts and perceptions, and how quickly they arise and go away, how quickly they arise and go away. And that very perception of impermanence then brings about a certain kind of a detachment. You won't feel like you're a victim or that you are trapped or imprisoned by the thoughts and feelings, by seeing how impermanent and how fleeting they actually are. Something else I've been aware of recently is that a number of the students and people who come by here are really suffer. People in this world have a lot of psychological distress. And they sometimes are in habitual psychological states like anxiety, depression, confusion, mood swings, uncontrollable emotions, afflictive emotions. These things are very, very common in the world. And even when a student comes and learns the Dhamma and they feel some relief and comfort when they first encounter the Dhamma and first begin this practice of mindfulness and develop a little bit of meditation, if they learn the significance of the loving kindness practice and develop that for themselves, if they learn a little bit about dependent origination and are able to, at least intellectually see that the problems that they suffer with are the result of causes and conditions. And so that's a bit of a comfort. But nevertheless, I've noticed that all too often people are still fixed or fixated in negative, unwholesome, unskillful patterns of thinking, are painful, difficult, and toxic psychological states or emotional reactions. And as much as I can tell them that, you will be able to get out of this. If you just keep practicing, you will discover. One day you will see, it will become clear to you when your delusion about these states goes away. You'll realize how completely possible it is to drop these states and to see how fleeting and impermanent they are, and to not to grasp onto them, and that it's really possible to come out of these negative patterns. But until a person who's got a heavy and a difficult pattern, until they are able to learn how to abandon the unwholesome states, then they have to patiently bear those states. And one of the greatest comforts then for a person who's still not in control of their negative patterns is at least to practice watching the thoughts and feelings and perceptions as they arise and disappear, as they arise, exist, and disappear, and make a study of it to really investigate and find out whether these mental states are permanent or not, whether they're actually impermanent. And when one really believes and knows intuitively knows that these are really fleeting and impermanent, then they can go. Another aspect of this Sati-Sampajañña is that in many different suttas, it comes side by side with the teaching about guarding the sense doors. This is a teaching that is given to novice monks or beginner monks who are have a lot of very strong habits that they brought in from their home life, that they're used to being unguarded with the senses because that's the way it is in the householder's existence. But for all of us who are serious practitioners, if we want to be successful in meditation, we need to be able to guard the sense doors, or else we'll never be able to gain samadhi. So the standard description of guarding the sense doors is given in terms of the six sense bases. There's a metaphor of a city, and consciousness is in a tower at the center of the city. There's a wall around the city, and there are six doors. Their mindfulness is the guard at each one of the doors. There's a mindfulness as a guard who is supposed to guard the input from each one of the six senses. The six doors stand for the six senses. So when you see a sight with the eyes, the guarding is not to get caught up in the features and details. If the faculty of sight was left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetousness and displeasure would become overwhelming. For that reason, they practice restraint, protecting the faculty of sight and achieving its restraint. So the unskillful quality of greed comes when there's a pleasant Vedana that's coming as a result of one of the sense doors. When they talk about the sense doors, one of the ways they speak about it in the suttas is there's the internal base, the external base, the contact, and then the Vedana that arises from that contact. And so those are all very closely associated and unavoidable. But it's at that point where we want to not allow the Vedana to cause covetousness in the case of pleasant things, or displeasure in the case of unpleasant things, to become overwhelming. Here's another description of what this restraint of the sense restraint is. And that is I'm reading here from the Samvara Sutta. Okay, I'm still on the Samyutta. I'm in 35.98. How is someone unrestrained? There are sights known by the eye which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. If a mendicant approves, welcomes, and keeps clinging to them, then they should understand my skillful qualities are declining. Likewise, with these same delightful qualities, if they do not approve, welcome, and keep clinging to these sights, then they will know that their skillful qualities are not declining. This language is especially touching to me because, I spoke earlier about somebody who might be a beginner on the path, who still is burdened by heavy and sort of persistent negative psychological conditions or emotional reactions or something like that. But then for the person who's maybe a little bit further along, it may be that the aversive reactions have been tamed somewhat, but then they still would be in danger by this likable, beautiful, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, arousing aspect of what comes in through the senses. And it's a further maturing of our wisdom when we know that this is right, it's right here that dukkha takes hold. This is for me something that's everybody has got their personal corner of the Dhamma, which they really relate to in a very direct and personal way because of their character or the part of the Dhamma that was the most meaningful to them, especially when they were first getting hold of the Dhamma and had not fully grasped the whole package, but maybe only grasped some part of it. And this was definitely a part of it for me as a person who is a pleasure type of person who's got the capacity for being addicted to pleasure. And what I had experienced much earlier before I ever encountered the Dhamma, that quality was there was a merry-go-round or a roller coaster of pleasure, sensual pleasure, and anxiety. So those two things were, going back and forth. The two sides of the coin was sensual pleasure and anxiety. And I have generalized that and learned at a very deep level that I'm not. I pull back from that kind of delight, approval, and clinging to sensual pleasure, and I don't experience that same kind of anxiety anymore. So being cured of or being stepped away from that kind of delighting and clinging to pleasure, and directly knowing the direct impact that has on anxiety. That's a wonderful, wonderful lesson. The main book that I'm taking as the outline of my study these days, as I mentioned to you a couple of times, is the book by Seifu Kwan called Mindfulness in Early Buddhist Meditation. He is really developing an idea that mindfulness and skillful perception are very, very closely linked together. One aspect of what's called sanya has two different meanings. One is the meaning of conception or conceiving of something, or bringing a thought to mind. So if the Buddha says, well, one should develop the perception of impermanence. And one of the meanings is just to remember to think of impermanence. The skillful perceptions to be developed including developing the perception of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, developing the perception of the deities, developing the perception of death. Those are protective contemplations. So one aspect of sati is what's called the anusati, or the recollections. And what that means is calling to mind a skillful perception. And calling to mind these skillful perceptions is a way of replacing, doing that to block or prevent unskillful perceptions from arising. I have this is a great sutta about this. This is called, it's the Udayi Sutta. This is in the Anguttara 6.29. And the Buddha is asking about anusati, recollection. He asks Udayi, how many topics of recollection are there? And he doesn't know, doesn't answer, and finally he says it's when a mendicant recollects many kinds of past lives. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, and so forth. They remember, I was named this, my clan was named that, I looked like this, that was my food. That's how I felt pleasure and pain. That's how my life ended. When I passed away from that place, I was reborn somewhere else. There too, I was named, my clan was this, that, and so on. So this is the description of the memory of past lives. And that's his idea of anusati. Sati is from the verb sarati, which has a meaning of memory. And in one or two places, sati is referenced as being like an ability to remember things that happened a long time ago. But in this case, the Buddha said, this futile man, Udayi, is not committed to the higher mind. So he rejects that description of anusati. And then he asked his assistant Ananda, how many topics for recollection are there? And he gives 5. The first one is the jhanas 1, 2, and 3. A mendicant's quite secluded. It gives the description of the first 3 jhanas. This is a topic for contemplation. And then the second one, a mendicant focuses on the perception of light, focusing on perception of day, regardless of whether it's night or day. And so with an open and unenveloped heart, they develop a mind that's full of radiance. It's the second topic of recollection. And then the third topic is they examine their own body from the soles of the feet up to the tip of the hairs, wrapped in skin and filled with many unattractive things, head hairs, body hairs, so forth. So that's the recollection of the asubha, unattractive aspect of the body. And then the next one is the recollection of the corpse. And he goes through the graveyard recollections. And then the last recollection that's given in this sutta is the fourth jhana, giving out pleasure and pain, disappearance of further happiness and sadness. One enters and remains in the fourth jhana without pleasure or pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness. Now, this sequence of contemplations, I'm not prepared to explain to you tonight, but I'm just showing this to point out that these as sati, are these as bringing up, calling to mind, recollecting, bringing to mind wholesome, beneficial, useful topics which cause your wholesome qualities to increase and your unwholesome qualities to decrease. Calling these to mind. There are other lists of the contemplations, including some that are more seem more like faith-oriented, like recollection of the Buddha and so forth is more like a inspirational, remembering the good qualities of the Buddha, the good qualities of the enlightened Sangha, the good qualities of the noble Dhamma. And then other topics of recollection are more meditative in their focus, like the contemplation of peace, seeing this is peaceful, this is sublime, the abandoning of all formations and so forth like that. So here in this teaching, the conclusion is, the Buddha says, Ananda, you should also remember this sixth topic for recollection. In this case, a mendicant goes out mindfully, returns mindfully, stands mindfully, sits mindfully, lies down mindfully, and focuses on work mindfully. When this topic of recollection is developed and cultivated, then it leads to mindfulness and situational awareness, Sati-Sampajañña. So this is giving this contemplation in the sense that it's bringing to mind a wholesome conception or a wholesome sanya, while doing the activities of daily life. I think I may pause here and see if there's any questions.
A question from Daniel. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ayya. I was wondering if I could just run by you so that kind of is to make sure I understand sort of the kind of chain of things, because I had heard some of this from your kind of dealing with feeling talks, and then later mindfulness, and Vedanas came up a lot, and we talked about Vedanas in a lot of different ways. And so just to make sure I'm getting it, there's contact, there's external object, contact with the sense base, that produces some kind of Vedana. And let's say it's an unpleasant Vedana in this case. And is it then perception that sort of says, oh, that unpleasant Vedana means that this guy's a jerk and I should punch him or something like that? Is that where perception is kind of playing into this? Or is it grasping maybe that's doing that instead? I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
The lists in different suttas, the order of events is slightly different. So in the Madhupinaka Sutta, the Honeyball Sutta, it's comes after feeling, come perceptions, and then thoughts, and then proliferation, just as you said. In the in this sutta on mindfulness, for some reason they say that throughout the day you should be aware of Vedanas, thoughts, and perceptions. And I don't know why that sutta gives it in that particular order. It's not saying that one thing leads to another. So then this leads, it's a very important, what's it in terms of what's a skillful perception or an unskillful perception. Okay, so unskillful perception is tainted by greed and aversion and ignorance, right? There's another way of thinking about how you would like to perceive things accurately, truthfully, as they actually are. So this is like a different way of looking at perception, is whether it's truthful or diluted. So this is where there's the case where you see a rope and you think it's a snake. So because of that inaccurate perception, then the fear arises, and then you go and shoot the rope or something like that, because you got that perception. It could be that you ask, well, okay, so why did that inaccurate perception come? Why did you see a snake and not a rope? And in that case, it could be because there's an underlying tendency. Maybe you're out in the forest and you're frightened because you're afraid of the forest, or you're afraid of snakes. And so because of that pre-existing, say it's a pre-existing thought, so the thought of snake is causing you to see a snake. So in that case, the vitaka came before the sanya. Right? And that is, I think, in psychology, you know that the mind sees what it expects to see.
Yeah.
So how this expectation that we're going to see things in a certain way, and the expectation is conditioned by you could say underlying tendencies, and the Chula Vedala Sutta, it says that it's the underlying tendency to aversion or to fear causes that, or it could be only like experienced what one has learned before. So in this way, if you think of it as being simply a case of learning, that if you've learned something, then you're able to perceive the thing that you learned. So if I have learned the Four Noble Truths, I will be able to notice manifestations of the Four Noble Truths many, many times all day long, because I learned it first, and from learning it, then it became possible to perceive it. But if I didn't know those concepts, then I wouldn't be able to perceive them.
Thank you, Ayya. So it sounds like there's almost more of a dynamic relationship between them sometimes, where it's not just one after the other necessarily. Sometimes things can be in different orders depending on circumstances.
It's a dynamic interactive system that has a synergy. So when there's the perceptions, thoughts, and feelings, when you have that scary perception, then your feeling becomes stronger. And as you pull out your gun to shoot it, then the feeling gets to be even stronger than that.
Yeah.
So, the aspect of mindfulness, this idea of detachment, is to interrupt that synergy, so that they don't spin up, based on something that's not truthful. But then in the case of wholesome perceptions, you do want to sometimes be able to develop a positive synergy. So if you've got truthful, accurate perception, seeing reality as it really is, and you know and understand that, you've experienced it before, and you've got like a wholesome thoughts, like this is sublime, the cessation of all formations. This is peaceful. This is sublime, the cessation of all formation. That's a thought. Okay, so having that thought then would make one feel even more calm, and so I emphasize this because I think we tend to only think of the synergistic aspect of the mind is only working on the negative side, but it also it does work on the positive side. The positive side is not moving towards agitation, but it's moving towards equanimity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
I think Richard has a thought.
Thank you, Ayya. I have a different way of looking at the five khandhas. Rupa is, obviously the body. And instead of feeling, I prefer the translation sensation. Now, you can feel sensation inside, outside of your body, including your eye. Let's say you get an eyelash in your eye. Well, that's an unpleasant sensation. Let's say you get a dust mote or a cinder or something, or someone pokes you. Those are all unpleasant sensations. Okay, and same thing, or it gets infected. Same thing with your ear, with your nose, with your tongue, right? With your touch, right? All over the entire body. Something can touch you, and it can be either, as Buddha said, pleasant, painful, or neutral. But when you go to perception, this is discussed by Sariputta, and I believe the Buddha says the same thing as well in saying, well, what is perception when he's talking about the five khandhas now? He says perception, he says, for the eye, it is blue, it is yellow, it is red, it is white. And this conforms to the cones and the rods. In other words, this is just the bare perception of what the eye can do. The eye, in its nerves, can take in this minimal amount of information, but there's many, 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 many cells, and that information goes into the mana and forms a sankara. So like you're looking at a picture, right? Let's say on a computer nowadays, everything's made of pixels, right? So all those pixels, they make a form that you see in your sankara. And cognition, the body has to be alive and well to some extent or another to have some kind of cognition of it. Your nerves have to be working properly throughout your body, right? In order for you to feel a sensation. A particular sense has to be working to some extent or another, right? In order to pick up the data that it's supposed to pick up, okay? And be cognizable. So Buddha says cognition, he says it's like different fields. The body is a field, sensation is a field, perception is a field, sankara is a field, okay? And cognition is like the seed in each one, and it's wetted by I think it's desire. Desire is the rain. So the seeds come up and they sprout up and they boom, 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 boom. Millions of eye nerves. Many nerves in your fingertips, whatever your various organs. So it's like a sequential unfolding. This is the pattern that we're going through. Now, Buddha also says that that perceptions are many and varied. So this is just how perception works with the senses. Okay, so the ear will hear certain vibration levels, right? The tongue has, I think there's 4 different tastes in the tongue: sour, salty, sweet, and bitter, I believe, like that. So the different senses have their domains of what they can connect to, and then this all comes together as it comes in. It goes into the mana, and the mana makes the sankara. It expands it out into the big picture, like that. Anyways, that's just my way of looking at it. Everyone can have their own. But another thing I wanted to bring up was that sutta that you were looking at, 40 is in the Samyutta Nikaya, book 5, 47, sutta number 35. Okay, so the Buddha, when he talks about mindfulness, he mentions the 4 Satipatthanas, the 4 different types of mindfulness. And then he says, so how does a bhikkhu, right, remain with this clear comprehension, right, while he's doing this practice? And so he mentions feeling or sensation, as I prefer, right? Thoughts, this is vitakka, if you look at the Pali, and perceptions, all right? So if you're doing this practice, and I'm not disagreeing with you that you should be able to pick this up and carry it into your daily activities, but you use the sitting mindfulness practice to develop that strength, that power, to hold it in your mind and then carry it out. So here he's talking about initially that sitting practice. So while you're sitting, you may have a sensation comes up, right? Or as you're contemplating a sensation in the body, or as you're contemplating the Satipatthana, right? That may lead into a thought, okay? And same thing, some kind of perception might come about. Now, this perception here, I'm not saying that it's simply a 5 khandha perception. I think it's maybe a 5 khandha perception, or it might be, like Buddha said, perceptions are many and varied, okay, type of perception, but some kind of perception comes up. He doesn't mention the body because the body's alive. It's not coming and going, because then he says to apply, see it as they arise, as they stay for a while, and as they cease, right? So there's the arising, the maintenance, and the ceasing, okay? So obviously your body is alive. You're sitting there doing, so you don't have to think about that. That's just going on. But sensations are coming and going, right? Thoughts are coming and going in the mind, right? Perceptions are coming and going. And the thing is to see them in this light. If you catch them right away, oh, here it is. It's just arising, it's ceasing. You're going back to the fundamental insight of the Sotapanna, which is mentioned in many suttas and in the Vinaya, okay, where they always say about the arising and passing and cessation of dhammas, objective reality. That objective reality is just arising and passing away, and it's becoming aware of that. So you're applying that same principle here, and that's how you don't get carried away. If you catch it right away, you don't get carried away by the sensation. You don't get carried away by the thought, right? You don't get carried away by whatever kind of perception that you're encountering, and you can maintain your mindfulness in that way. And if you do this enough in your meditation, you'll build up strength. So as you were saying, you can carry that into your day-to-day activities, so that, yes, you're interacting with people and things and experiences and everything, but you're also seeing that same thing. Oh, this is just the arising, maintaining for some period of time and then passing away like that. And you can use that same technique all the time to maintain equilibrium of mind. Anyways, I hope I didn't speak too long, but thank you very much. It's very nice to see you too.
Yes, I will say that the definition of sanya that you mentioned, as I understand it in the text, the word sanya is sometimes used in two different ways. One is used in a way that corresponds to what's called apperception. That relates to what you just said, distinguishing blue from yellow. And then the other type of use of perception is more what is called a conception, or bringing up it's the creation of a concept. And the most famous example of that is in the Girimananda Sutta. The 10 perceptions are the perception of impermanence, not self, ugliness, dangers, giving up, fading away, cessation, dissatisfaction with the whole world, impermanence of all conditions, and mindfulness of breathing. And all of these quote, quote, perceptions in the sutta are actually contemplative practices. Each one is a type of a meditation that you take a certain, it's actually a concept, an idea, and then you reflect and meditate on this idea. So that is another meaning of it. And for what it's worth, I haven't finished my study yet, but if Seifu Kwan is true, he's saying that those sannyas, which are contemplations that are lead to a more wholesome mind, are a part of the mindfulness practice. And this, you see, the way mindfulness is taught in modern times makes it too simple. That it's just like this, just non-judgmental awareness of each moment that's arising. And that's true, that's foundational. It's really an important practice. And even in the sutta, I mentioned the Sati Sutta about being aware of the arising, existing, and passing away of each feeling, a thought, and perception. It's a simple practice, but a really super powerful practice to do both on the cushion and especially in all the different postures, and which is the context that's given for the Sampajañña practice.
Okay, can I add one thing? It's just that perception is also of this sankhara process in the mana
Yes.
itself. The mana can also, like you're saying, it can have ideas too. That's also an arising of the mana's sense perception. And
Right.
it can have these ideas, and those ideas can be contemplations as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped with the eye, but you can apply that principle everywhere. And
Yeah.
that's what becomes a little complicated, because people sort of think of perception, in my opinion, and that it's more like just the sense perception, like in the sense which is sort of like a more modern way of looking at it. Like I'm seeing the pictures, you might say, the videos of all the people here who are attending this meeting, right? So that's you might think of that as my eye, that's my perception and everything.
Mm.
But the way the Buddha's talking about it, he's talking about the mana has its own perception when it brings the sankharas together of what the senses deliver to it, as well as it can think thoughts. It can then make up other things. Oh, I like this, or I don't like that, or let me think along these lines, or wherever, let me go here or there, or whatever, or contemplate something, in other words. And anyways,
Okay.
thank you
Thank you
very
very much. I see Venerable Kachina has a hand up, and oh, by the way, I forgot your format. I forgot that the format that is usually a period of meditation before the Dhamma discussion.
Yes, well, I was going to invite you for some meditation. I think it's been a really rich discussion, and I think Richard was mentioning the benefits of sitting on the cushion and looking at some of this in that way, and
Yes.
and I would like to invite you to lead us in that, to sort
Yes.
of take all of this and let it settle and let us see it for ourselves. Please guide us, Ayya.
So please, let's close this tonight's program with a period of meditation. I don't have a bell. Would you ring a bell at the right time at the end?
Sure. I think I can ring a bell. Let's see.
Okay. Hmm. So coming to an upright and balanced posture. Letting go of all the excitement of this conversation. Aware of the sensations in the body. If breath is noticeable, aware of the breath. Any sensation touching the body. Seeing when it arises to our awareness, when it exists, and when it ends. Any other sensation, the same, or any thought, the same. Paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bundang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Suparipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Thank you, everyone, for your patient listening tonight.
Thank you, Ayya. And may we pay our respects to you as our teacher.
Sabe Buddha Balabata Aratana Tachi Rakabata
Sadhu, sadhu.
Ayya, I wanted to share a book with you that I picked up called Dependent Origination in Plain English by Bhante Gunarantana. Yeah,
Yes,
it's a very good book.
I just cataloged it in our library.
Ah. Did you put it under peace?
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
Have a great retreat, Ayya.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.